Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. The summer window is about to explode. Tottenham have stormed into the race for Xavi Simons despite Chelsea already pushing talks, while Fabrizio Romano reveals fresh Spurs calls on Lucas Paquetá. Could Thomas Frank's side hijack their rivals and land two late game changers before deadline day? Tottenham have entered the race to sign Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig, Football.London understands, with Chelsea considering a move for Barcelona's Fermin Lopez. Spurs lost out on Eberechi Eze to Arsenal recently and are now exploring alternatives to the England international. Simons has emerged as an option, insiders close to the Dutchman have confirmed, despite Chelsea having been in talks with Leipzig for over a month at this stage. Simons has a broad agreement on personal terms over a move to Stamford Bridge. However, there has been no breakthrough between Chelsea and Leipzig yet. With Tottenham now in the race, Chelsea have been biding their time in negotiations as the West London club look to offload Nicholas Jackson or Christopher Nkunku before making an official offer. Leipzig, though, have options with Simons very much in demand this summer. Meanwhile, Chelsea are considering their options in the number 10 position, with Football.London reporting on Tuesday that the Blues have expressed an initial interest in Lopez from Barcelona. Chelsea have held talks with the 22-year-old Spaniard's representatives to gauge whether he could be persuaded to make the move to Stamford Bridge. Alejandro Garnacho, too, remains a target for Chelsea in the final 5 days of the summer transfer window. The Blues are confident they can strike a deal with Manchester United to sign the 21-year-old winger, who has his heart set on joining the world champions. Bayern Munich approached Garnacho's entourage over a loan move to the Allianz Arena, but the Argentine's preference has always been Chelsea, so said offer was quickly turned down. Tottenham, meanwhile, are looking to add a number 10, winger with a central defender, also of interest before the window closes on Monday. Spurs are keen on in Manchester City's Savihno, while the North Londoners have also been linked with the likes of Magnus Akliush, Lucas Paquetá, and Nico Paz. Tottenham will be actively pursuing two new signings in the final week of the summer transfer window. Thomas Frank has only been able to welcome one new and marquee addition in Mohamed Kudus, with Joao Palhinha joining on loan, Mathys Tel returning on a permanent basis, and Kota Takai very much signed for the future. Attempts to further bolster his squad have been made, and rather publicly at that, with failed moves for Morgan Gibbs-White and Eberechi Eze clouding what has been an excellent start to the Premier League season by Spurs. After beating newly promoted Burnley on the opening day, Frank's men then put in a terrific performance to beat Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. A dream scenario would have been Tottenham leaving with more than just the 3 points, as City's wide forward, Savihno, is being formally targeted by the Lilywhites. A switch to North London is currently being blocked, however, and it remains to be seen if he will be allowed to make the move. Despite Paquetá's blistering start to the season, a new number 10 is also required with West Ham United's Lucas Paquetá, the latest name to emerge of interest. With all of that being said, Football London has rounded up all the latest updates on the duo as Tottenham aim to strike late in the summer window. According to Fabrizio Romano, Tottenham have made some fresh calls to understand the situation surrounding Paquetá. West Ham may be reluctant to do business with rivals again, but Paquetá could force through a move. Following on from links arriving, very old photos emerged of the Brazil international wearing a Spurs shirt. Paquetá scored his second goal of the season in West Ham's 3-2 Carabao Cup defeat to Wolves at Molineux on Tuesday night. After celebrating with his teammates, Paquetá passionately roared into the away end while asking for more noise. Just 4 days earlier, he netted a superb strike in the 5-1 defeat to Chelsea, with replays showing him firmly tapping the West Ham badge on his shirt. Based on that, and even with West Ham's current struggles, it looks unlikely he would actively push for a move. There were mixed fortunes for Tottenham's big group of loan players as they continue their development away from the North London club. Spurs have sent out 11 young players across the Football League, Scottish Premiership, and also one to South America, with more set to follow them before the transfer window closes next week. Tottenham head coach Thomas Frank ran the rule over all of the youngsters within his squad over the summer, and now many of them are out and about, getting first-team exposure at various levels of the game. Some have a bright future at Spurs, some are trying to prove that they should have one, while others are simply putting themselves in the shop window for a future move. Alejo Vélez continues to get minutes aplenty back in his happy place of Rosario Central. The 21-year-old always would take the chance to return to his Argentinian club during any spare time he had while at Spurs or on his various loan spells, and now he is back in the colours of the side where he has made 69 appearances and scored 20 times. At the weekend, the big striker played the full 90 minutes as Rosario won 1-0 at home in their big derby against Newell's Old Boys, and it continued a run of 6 consecutive starts since he came home. Vélez netted last week in the 1-1 draw against Deportivo Riestra with a powerful header from a deep cross. This loan marks a far more successful period for Vélez after a couple of spells in La Liga, which brought mostly moments from the bench. After the Derby high win, Vélez posted on Instagram, "Rosario is from Central. How nice to live these unforgettable moments. Eternal thanks at Rosario Central. This is the way, together for everything." Mikey Moore has come to a Rangers side in a big spot of turmoil as they struggle under new boss Russell Martin. For a team that is expected to win all the time domestically, the Glasgow Giants have drawn all 3 games so far in the Scottish Premiership 1-1 and were played off the pitch for much of their 3-1 home defeat to Club Brugge in their Champions League qualifying round first leg tie. Moore has played in the past 3 games after having to wait for his 18th birthday to get his international clearance. He grabbed an assist on his debut in the League Cup win against Alloa and then came on for the final 20 minutes of the Champions League tie. On Sunday, the teenager was brought on at half-time, with Rangers 1-0 down at St Mirren, and played his part in the visitors, at least taking a point from a match they got plenty of criticism for. In most of the player ratings dished out by local media, Moore was handed either a 6 or a 5 for his second half showing. Alfie Dorrington played the first half of Aberdeen's Europa League playoff first leg against Romanian side FCSB, formerly known as Steaua Bucuresti, which ended in a 2-2 draw. The Dons defended poorly in the first half, and even though he was not involved in the visitors' first half goal, the 20-year-old was sacrificed at the break as part of a triple substitution, only for the poor defending to continue 1 minute after the restart when his replacement, Mats Knoster, was involved in a mix-up that led to a second goal for FCSB. Aberdeen did get their act together with 2 goals in the final half an hour to give them something to go into the second leg with on Thursday night. Dorrington had no match at the weekend, as Aberdeen exercised their right to postpone their Scottish Premiership match against Dundee United as it fell between the 2 playoff legs. Will Lankshear got another 68 minutes under his belt as Oxford lost 1-0 at Birmingham in the Championship on Saturday. The Oxford Mail handed Lankshear a 6 in their player ratings, with some praise for his efforts in their review. Battled hard to hold up the ball and feed off the scraps that came his way against 2 robust centre-halves. The 20-year-old striker had got on the scoresheet last week with a low volley early in United's 3-2 defeat at Hull City, and Oxford are still waiting for their first points of the new season. Alfie Devine helped Preston continue their strong start to the Championship season, with 73 minutes in the midfield as Preston won 1-0 at home against Ipswich. The 21-year-old was handed a 6.5 in the Lancashire Post's player ratings, with the review lively again and some driving runs. Final pass occasionally eluded him. Devine had netted an excellent goal for North End last week in their 2-1 win against Leicester after rounding the keeper and sending home a curling shot from a tight angle to open his account for his new club. It looks like it will once again be another mad rush for Tottenham in what remains of the transfer window. We are now into the final week of the summer market, and Thomas Frank is crying out for new signings in a couple of important positions. Transfer outgoings also need to take place to ensure that the Spurs boss has the perfect squad to contend with Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup football in the 2025-26 season. It has been a summer transfer window to forget for Tottenham after seeing high-profile moves for Morgan Gibbs-White and Eberechi Eze fall apart. It is imperative that Johan Lang finishes the final week of the window on a positive note by concluding a number of deals for Frank. So what do Spurs have left to do before Monday's 7 p.m. deadline? Football.London takes a look below. Tottenham are in desperate need of a new number 10 after losing out on the signatures of both Gibbs-White and Easy. Frank's team are so light in the position right now due to Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison's injuries that have left them in the treatment room for a considerable period of time. Nico Paz, Bilal El Kanous, Morgan Rogers and Magnus Akliushi have been in the headlines regarding a transfer to Tottenham. Spurs have to ensure that they get a new number 10 in through the door as a priority, or else it could really hurt them with the amount of games on the calendar between now and January. The final week of the transfer window will see Savihno's future resolved one way or another. The Man City winger has been linked with a switch to Tottenham of late, and Football.London understands the North London club remain intent on trying to sign the Brazilian. Savihno is said to be keen on a move to the capital, but it will all depend on Tottenham submitting a large bid that City deem acceptable. If they cannot come to terms on a deal with Pep Guardiola's team, then they will have to shift their attention elsewhere for another winger. Tottenham require a new centre-back in what remains of the transfer window to ensure Frank has sufficient cover at the back. However, a new number 10 and winger are higher up on the transfer priority list right now. The Spurs boss does switch to a back three at times, and it's important that he has another senior option at his disposal amid Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven's injury issues last season, and Radu Dragusin working his way back to fitness from an ACL injury. Dane Scarlett is still waiting to secure a move away from Tottenham as we approach the final few days of the transfer window. The striker was not included in the squad for the pre-season tour of Asia to explore a loan move away, but one has not come to fruition just yet. The player needs to be playing week in, week out, and all will be hoping that a deal can be agreed on very soon. Luka Vuskovic has been part of the Tottenham matchday squad for all 3 games so far this season, but he is still waiting to make his first competitive appearance for the Lilywhites. A temporary move does look likely before Monday's transfer deadline, as he is expected to depart on loan. Hamburg have been heavily linked with the Croat, and a switch to the Bundesliga team would see him link up with his brother at the club. After excelling for Radomiak Radom and Westerlo previously, another spell of regular first-team football is needed to aid Vuskovic's development. Brian Gill clearly does not have a future at Tottenham, having missed out on a squad number for the new season. The Spaniard is currently working his way back to fitness from a knee injury, and that could potentially impact a possible move given it's not clear yet when he will be fit to return to the pitch. Yves Bissouma could possibly be in the headlines over the next few days due to his contract situation at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The Mali international is now in the final year of his Spurs deal, and the club really need to sell him this window to ensure his value does not drop too much. Tottenham are looking to move on the ex-Brighton and Hove Albion player who was recently disciplined by Frank and left out of the squad for the PSG game due to poor timekeeping. Manor Solomon is now back in training after injury stopped him from getting a chance to impress Frank earlier in the summer. The Israeli wowed for Leeds United in the Championship last season, and a move remains likely for the winger. Solomon is already down the Tottenham pecking order, and he will drop a further place if a new winger comes in before the deadline. The